Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We from KMC want to present on the study of Watson, which is the impact of customer emotional engagement on customer loyalty in the context of CRM, which is customer relationship management. So this is my group member, which is Amri, Nur Hazwani, Aina, Farhana, Fatimatuzzahra, and myself, Puteri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Natasha Azlan. It's number 1200829. So today I would like to start with the introduction first, which is problem. The problem that faced by Watson is its competitor itself, which is Watson face strong rival from Guardian, Alfro, Wellness and other health and beauty market in Malaysia, which is sells a similar goods and offer much lower price and promotion to attract their customer, even in online or offline platform. The next problem is lack of customer service. Watson frequently get the bad feedback from customer because of their rude staff, also the incorrect price label and the customer service hotline. So the last problem that faced by Watson is poor management system. Watson application and website always having traffic that enable customer to connect with their account, which is they can't buy anything. Also, if they have had to cut and order it, when it come to pick up, the Watson brand said the Watson brand is denied of their order. So next is research question. The question is, what the main factor that influence customer emotional engagement toward customer loyalty? So when it comes to question, it must have the solution, which is the research objective. So the factor that influencing customer emotional engagement towards customer loyalty are identification and enthusiasm. That prove in the coefficient significant. So the next one is to investigate the correlation between emotional engagement on customer loyalty and customer relationship management process that's seen by Watson customer. So the third one is to identify if identification influence customer emotional engagement when purchasing at Watson store. The last one is to identify if enthusiasm influence the customer loyalty in the context of CRM, customer relationship management.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Fatimatuzzahra, Binti Fouzi, metric number 1200823. Now I will present the research framework and the methodology of research. First of all, in the blue box, in this is the research framework for Watson. As seen on the slide, the interaction, observation, identification, attention, and enthusiasm, they are all independent variables that affect and influence dependent variables, namely emotional engagement on customer loyalty. Now, what we assume on those variables? So we hypothesize all the independent variables that include interaction, observation, identification, attention, and enthusiasm positively influence customer loyalty towards Watson. Next, we go for the methodology. There are three things that will be touched on, namely research design, data collection, and data analysis. As for the research design, our group included three main items, which are demographic questions, dependent variables, and independent variables that will be answered using a 5-point Likert scale. Second, we use both primary and secondary data for our data collection. As for the primary data, a questionnaire in the form of a Google form has been distributed. Meanwhile, materials such as journals, past study papers, and recognized websites are sources for our secondary data. Finally, after all explanation for methodology, we can conclude that we apply qualitative and quantitative for analysis. It is because we also use SPSS software such as ANOVA, regression, and coefficient to analyze our data for the result.
Continue to the next part, which is result. So we have 100 150 respondents who answer our questionnaire that we distribute in social media, it indicates that our response rate is high, which is 95.5%, and it means our response is valid and acceptance to do a further analysis. So the first part is frequency analysis. It describes about the demographic profile. So the first one is gender. A majority of our respondents come from female. As we can see, it's have 80 individuals who answer from female, and we only have 70 from male. Okay, next age, majority of our respondents come from age 18 until 26 years old, which is 114 individuals who answer from that group. Then followed by 20 individuals answer our respondents come from 27 until 42 years old. Then we got 15 individuals who answer comes from age 43 until 55 years old, and we only have one individual that answer our questionnaire come from age 59 until 77 years old. That's the majority of our respondents come from age 18 until 26 years old. For ethnicity, a majority of our respondents come from Malay, accounted to 142 respondents, and others we only had 8 individuals who answer our question. For highest education level, as you can see in the table, our respondents majority come from bachelor's degree, which is 91 individuals, followed by diploma students, 28, and high school graduate, 16. Meanwhile, master degree only 8, and others is 7. Okay, for marital status, the majority of respondents were single with 190 individuals, which represent 79.3% of the total group, and the rest is married respondent with 31 individuals. For occupations, majority our respondents come from students with 95 individuals who answer our survey, followed by private sector, 35 individuals, and the list is government servant, only 7 individuals who answer our question. Okay, for income group, majority of the group have a gross monthly income above 10,971, which is 126 individuals, and the next largest group is below 4,850, accounted to 19 individuals, and a smaller number of individuals earn between 4,851 to 10,970, 2 individuals. For average time spent in Watson store, the majority of respondents spend time in Watson store less than half an hour for 72 respondents. The second largest group spent about an hour for 55 people, and followed by group between 1 until 2 hours, 60 people, and the lowest group for 61 people is spend time in Watson between 2 until 4 hours. It shows most of the group does not just visit the store, not even more than half an hour. So as general, our respondents come from Malay and it's female. They age between 18 until 26, and many of them are bachelor students. And also we got private sector employed that live with a high income. It is also highlighted that the majority of respondents spend their time in lessons, so less than half an hour, followed by respondents who spend their time about an hour on average. So we go to the second part, descriptive analysis. It illustrates the finding of mean and standard deviation. So the first one is interaction. So you can see the mean start from 2.73 until 3.03. It means the majority of respondents have a low interaction towards fellow Watson customer, because it can indicate that most respondents choose disagree or neutral with statements such as I involved in discussion about Watson with other customer, and I participate actively in discussion of Watson customer. The standard deviation for interaction starts from 1.136 until 1.212. For absorption, respondents also found Watson is not an interesting topic to talk with other person. The mean score start from 2.41 until 2.78. It's indicating that most respondents disagree with statements such as when I was interacting with Watson customer, I forget everything around me, and time flies when I interact with Watson customer. So the standard deviation start from 1.45 until 1.194. For attention, the score range mean start from 3.01 to 3.25. It's indicating that most respondents choose neutral with the statements such as I want to know more about Watson and I pay more attention to anything related to Watson. And the standard deviation starts from 1.039 until 0.138. For identification, it has a low mean score which range from 2.25 until 2.34. It's indicating the most of respondents choose disagree with the statement such as, I find it offensive when people criticize Watsons and when someone praises Watsons, I feel like I'm being complimented. And the standard deviation start from 1.1 until 1.79. For enthusiasm, it has mean score range from 3.15 until 3.61. It's indicating that most respondents also choose neutral with statements such as I'm very interested in Watson and I like Watson. And the standard deviation start from 0.989 until 1.079. For customer loyalty, it has range mean from 2.44 until 2.82, and it's indicating that most respondents disagree with the statements such as I will continue to buy product from Watson if its price increase, and I'm very possessive towards Watson brand. The standard deviation start from 1.09 until 1.141. Overall, it can be seen that the standard deviation is relatively huge, and it's indicating that the data points are relatively far from the mean. Reliability test. Combat alpha is a statistic that indicates the degree of consistency in response for a measure item. So in this study, we use combat alpha of 0.8 is reasonable for acceptance based on several scholars that consider an alpha of 0.8 or above is satisfied and acceptance. According to the table, the Cronbach alpha for all variables when copied together is 0.902, which considered good in the reliability test. So the highest Cronbach alpha is identification with 0.944 and the lowest is attention with 0.877, which is still in the acceptance limits. Multiple regression analysis. It's used to predict the influence of interaction, observation, attention, identification, enthusiasm, or loyalty of customer towards Watson in the context of customer relationship management. Equal to the model summary, degree of correlation is high, which is 0.809, and the R squared was 0.655. So we can say that the value of 0.655 of the variance in loyalty of customer towards Watson can be predicted from the variable interaction, observation, attention, identification, and enthusiasm.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Hazwani. Okay, so I'll start with coefficient result. The result shown that only 2 of 5 independent variables are significantly related to the customer loyalty towards Watson. It is because both p-value for identification and enthusiasm are 0.000, which are lower than 0.005. Identification had the most significant effect on customer loyalty with a beta value of 0.333 and p-value of 0.000. It was followed by enthusiasm with beta value of 0.302 and p-value of 0.000. This means that in order to increase customer loyalty, the customer engagement should focus on identification and enthusiasm. Okay, this is Pearson's correlation analysis that shows all the relations between variables are significant at 5% level of significance. Customer loyalty, CL, is positively correlated with perceived interaction, INT, absorption, ABS, attention, APP, identification, IDE, and enthusiasm, ENP. In other words, as CL increase, all variables also increase. This means that there is a statistically significant relation between all the variables.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. My name is Amri Zainudin. My matrix number A1200789. So now I will continue this presentation about the discussion of the findings and the conclusions. So in this part, we'll be discuss about the hypothesis testing between the 5 independent variables and the dependent variables, which is the customer loyalty. So let's go to the first hypothesis, which is about the interaction. So the null hypothesis for the interaction is the interactions negatively influence customer loyalty towards Watsons. So is it this null hypothesis is accepted or rejected? So we can say that it is accepted because of what? Because of the since the multiple linear regressions that we have analyzed before shows that the p-value for the interaction is far above 0.05, which is 0.289. So as a result, definitely the null hypothesis is accepted, okay, because of there is no relations between the interaction and the customer loyalty, and the result also shows that it is insignificant. Okay, for the second hypothesis, is about the absorption. So the null hypothesis for absorption is absorptions negatively influence customer loyalty towards Watson. So the result from the multiple linear regression suggests that absorption is negatively influence the customer loyalty toward Watsons. Because why? Because the p-value for the absorptions is above 0.05, which is 0.232. Okay, so therefore the null hypothesis is accepted as well. And this suggests that customer absorption has a negative impact on the customer loyalty. Okay, for the third hypothesis is about the attentions. So the null hypothesis, attention negatively influence customer loyalty towards Watson. And the result from MLR suggests that attention is negatively influence the customer loyalty as well because of this p-value is above than 0.05. Okay, so it is insignificant. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. Okay, so this suggests that that customer attention has a negative impact. So there is no relationship between the attention and the customer loyalty. Okay, for the fourth hypothesis is about the identification. So the identification negatively influence customer loyalty to Watson. So is it this hypothesis is accepted or rejected? So we can say that it is rejected because of the MLR suggests that identification is positively influence the customer loyalty towards Watson. So because of the p-value for the identification is less than 0.05, which is 0.00, okay, and it is significant. And therefore, the null hypothesis for the identification is rejected. Okay, and this means that identification um, has an impact, okay, on the customer loyalty toward Watson. Okay, for the last hypothesis is about the enthusiasm. Okay, so the enthusiasm negatively influence the customer loyalty towards Watsons. So is it this null hypothesis is accepted or rejected? It is rejected. Okay, because of the result in the multiple linear regressions shows that enthusiasm is positively influence the customer loyalty toward Watsons since the p-value is below than 0.05, okay, which is 0.00 as well, and it shows that it is significant, and therefore the null hypothesis is rejected. This means that the enthusiasm has an impact, okay, on the customer loyalty towards Watson. All right, as a conclusion for this research presentation, we found that the identification and enthusiasm only were capable of increasing the customer loyalty towards Watson, while the other customer emotional engagement like interaction, attention, the absorption were not. So we can say that this research failed to prove the effect of interaction, attention, and absorption on the customer loyalty. And these findings were in contrast with the customer engagement aspects. So therefore, this study has created new research gaps that need to be resolved in the future. So I think that's all for our research presentations regarding the impact of customer emotional engagements on the customer loyalty in the context of customer relationship management. And it is a study about Watsons. Thank you so much for lending your time. Hopefully, this presentation may give you guys a better overview about our research. Okay, I wish you guys have a good day ahead. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.